Hello friends, welcome again to the second part of our interview today with Mr. Mello, who is running to become the mayor of the city of Omaha. And we are having several questions. We have people asking different questions and we want to share those questions with you. And Mario, let's continue with the conversation.
Sure, I have one question. I got so many emails, Facebook. There's one question that I think you'll be able to answer quite nicely. Omaha has become very congested with cars and trucks, and I don't know how long we've been doing this. But as a mayor, would you consider alternative forms of transportation, realistic forms of transportation for Omaha?
You know what, that is a great question, and I would tell you during the course of the campaign, it's been a priority of mine to look to the future of building a city that allows anyone in Omaha, anyone in South Omaha to be able to get around our city without having to own a car. And I've said probably for me the two biggest priorities that we know, particularly as it impacts South Omaha, is making sure that as we continue to fix our streets and to redevelop South Omaha, that we make sure that people can walk and they can bike in South Omaha and feel safe, but also look to create a bus rapid transit line from South 24th Street all the way up to North 24th Street by the end of my first term as a goal I have of wanting to try to make sure that we connect the north and the south side of the city together with better mass transit.
Very good. Thank you.
Well, for sure, I'm sure that you have walk around South O and even North O and West O. And but what are the main concerns that you have encountered when it comes to South O? What is people telling you about their main concerns?
You know, a couple of the main issues that residents and families and business owners in South Omaha bring up to me are some issues I hear around the city, such as fixing our streets, filling our potholes, making sure that our neighborhood is safe, that we continue to see a strong public safety presence when we've got problems or we've got crimes. But another issue in South Omaha specifically people bring up is really involving housing, of making sure that we have quality, affordable housing for people to be able to continue to live in, and wanting to make sure that the city is working with realtors, working with home builders to make sure that we continue to create more of those opportunities. In education, it's something that obviously was a very big passion of mine in the legislature, of making sure we have the strongest public schools possible here in Omaha. But a lot of families in South Omaha work for a living and want to make sure that they've got good quality child care. It's an issue that I know in talking with a number of business owners in South Omaha. They want to continue to see us flourish as a community, of making sure that child care is quality, but also we make sure it's affordable for working families into the future.
Just to couple that question, you just answered something that I was going to answer later, but I think we can just do this. Pothole politics, the street makeover. Every politician, every mayor in the past, 1 week before the elections, I mean, they start fixing holes here and left. I mean, it's amazing. If you go around the city, there's so many construction areas with nothing. I know, but when no one is constructing anything. You know what I mean? Yet, but it is true. There's a lot of holes out there, but no one is constructing anything. And you see a bunch of different signs and everything else every day. So if you become a mayor, are you going to do that too?
Well, here's what I've announced. We've announced during the course of the campaign both a short-term plan and looking to create a more longer-term plan to address the city's crumbling streets and infrastructure. That the city over the next few years are going to be receiving roughly about $6.5 million more every single year due to the work of myself and some of our friends in the legislature a couple years ago. That ensures that the city will get more and more money to fill our potholes, to patch up our streets, and to try to pave some of the really rough areas we have in the city. But I've said that really is a short-term fix where we need to still look to a long-term approach, which I've announced that we'd like to use more bonding into the future, but we really want to find a way to build more of a public-private partnership to address that in the long run.
Very good.
One of the concerns...
Go ahead.
One of the concerns families have when it comes to their children attending public school is that eventually they will transition to completing their high school, and then they will try to encourage them to pursue a higher level of education. However, many of them might be here with some restrictions when it comes to their paperwork, and some of them can make it to the university, some others can't. I know that you were a supporter of the DACA program. Can you tell us a little bit more as to how that impacted the community that you got to speak to when you were working really hard about it?
You know, I think in regards to working with some great community leaders over the last few years in regards to providing more opportunities for our DACA youth, it was probably one of the more emotional yet fulfilling experiences I had in the legislature, spending time with these high school students, with these college students who really were just looking to try to chase their own hopes and dreams and really wanting people to advocate for just the opportunity to go do that and do that here in Omaha, do that here in Nebraska. And when we were able to pass the driver's license proposal in 2015, and then last year the professional license proposal in 2016, it really for me solidified how valuable the next generation of young Latino leaders and students are of changing the face of not just South Omaha and the city of Omaha, but the state of Nebraska. And I've said before, the passion I've got from the legislature obviously is continuing on the course of the campaign of someone who's been a strong advocate for comprehensive immigration reform in the legislature, and my belief that as Omaha's next mayor that we as a city need to be not just embracing our DACA youth, but we need to be expanding as many opportunities as possible to keep our DACA youth from leaving Omaha to go to some other city, whether they want to go to Denver, whether they want to go to Chicago, whether they want to go to Los Angeles or New York. We as a city should be doing everything we can to keep our young, talented DACA youth and dreamers after they go to high school, after they go to get their school, their job training or their college education, do everything we can to keep them here because they're not just the workforce of tomorrow, they're the leadership of our community in the future.
Yes, precisely today I was having a conversation with one student and he's planning on leaving to a different state. And I went like, what a loss.
It is.
Talented, gifted students that can contribute a lot to the state of Nebraska, a lot to the city, and we're losing human capital just because there is no appreciation of the talent that we have when it comes to the youth that we have in Salvador. Okay, Mario.
Mr. Mello, although we, the Latina community, we care about different topics or different issues regarding affecting our whole overall city, we cannot hide that one of the main topics in our agenda is immigration. It, in some ways, is a deal breaker. And we'd like to hear from you what you think about the role of the police department regarding immigration in the city of Omaha.
That's a great question, and I've been very clear from the beginning of the campaign that I think the city has an existing policy where police officers do not serve as immigration officers, that the city of Omaha has had a long-standing policy not to pull over anyone or to check anyone's immigration status when they come in contact with a police officer, and I believe that policy is a very good policy. That allows the community across South Omaha and across the city to be able to interact with our law enforcement and not be fearful, not be afraid that their documentation status, their immigration status is going to get questioned and or that they may be detained for some unknown reason. And so I've been very clear, if I'm elected mayor, I will keep that existing policy. We will make sure that we protect that unique relationship, I would say, between the community and law enforcement to make sure that anyone across the city feels that they can contact a police officer and not be fearful in regards to being detained and or feeling that their immigration status is going to be questioned.
And I think that's very important due to the fact that we have a lot of women that experience domestic abuse.
Domestic violence and
domestic
abuse,
violence, and there is a lot of concern about that, calling, picking up the phone. And I'm glad that somehow you will remain consistent on when it comes to that policy. Well, thank you, friends, for being with us. We're going to close this section.
Yeah, we have a few seconds yet, but I'm sure that the third presentation, we have more questions for you. With that, I would like to thank you very much to being with us tonight.
Thank you.